two things. One is you have to find a business or businesses, one or a couple businesses to model that have already done exactly what it is you want to do. And for, again, 99.9% of us, those businesses do exist. So you would want to model them. And the way that I like to teach people to model them is go buy every single thing that your competitor, that someone who's doing something similar to that you want to do, buy everything they have to offer, buy everything, and take notes. How did you learn about what they are doing? Was it a Google search? How did you find them? What did you find? What did they offer you first, second, third, and so on? And write it all out. Get a blank sheet of paper. I keep like an art notebook, and I just diagram out everything that I possibly can study about a business that I want to model. And in that modeling, you'll find lots and lots of clues.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Side Business podcast. I am your host, Chris Williams, and today I am really excited about the conversation you get a chance to hear on the show. As you know, a lot of times, one of the best things I like doing is being able to find the type of people that have an interesting perspective of how they went from their everyday job to turning it into something that has become a massive hit, but not in sometimes the way you think, right? Like a lot of times you might think, oh, that person, just got lucky. No, I'm talking about chance meetings. I'm talking about having real conversations. I'm talking about the power of saying yes. You're about to get all of that inside of this discussion here with my guest. And so one of the interesting things is I have a love that he had a similar opportunity to work in that industry, which is basketball. I love the NBA. As of recording this, the finals are going on right now. So of course I'm enjoying that. But his journey into what he does now started from just saying yes. And that's the one thing I want you to get from this conversation. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others my guest for today, the incomparable, the incredible Jay Altman. Jay, how are you doing today, man?
Good, man. Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here, man. I'm excited to bring this forward. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, I'm glad to have you on the show today. So, first of all, let's do this. For my audience who doesn't know you, give everybody a little bit of understanding of who you are and like what you do today. But I want you to share your story. Like, talk about how did you get into the work you were doing and what were you doing prior? And we'll get into kind of the chance conversation and some of that stuff, but just give people a little understanding of kind of what you do today and kind of how you got here.
You got it. So it's a funny story because how I actually got here, there's a lot of chance, kind of your reference to saying yes, this idea of keeping my eyes wide open as you navigate forward. What I do today is I am an entrepreneur success coach. What I specifically do is I help service-based businesses grow from six-figure businesses to 7, 8 figures and beyond. But it literally is accidental in some ways how I got here. So if I back up, how in the world did this happen kind of accidentally? Is I grew up very poor. I grew up being evicted multiple times, 8 times or more in a short period of time, about a 6-year period. And in growing up in a small farm town in Indiana, I had 2 loves coming out of high school. One was sports and specifically basketball, and the other was music. And with when I was getting ready to go off to college, I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but I knew I did not want to be a farmer or do anything related to farm work. And I knew either sports or music had to be my answer, my ticket, if you will, to get out of there. And so with music, the only thing I could think about doing is kind of being like a rock star or like a band director. And the rock star felt way too far-fetched, although it would have been cool. And being a band director felt like nothing that I actually could imagine myself doing at all. And so I thought, okay, I'll go the sports route. And I was not a good enough athlete to play Division I sports. And I wanted to go to a Division I school, or that's really all that I knew. And so I chose the sports route, and I thought if I can't be the athlete, what I want to do is help the athlete become bigger, faster, and stronger. So, leading into that, I went to my senior year of high school. I'm going to back up just a touch. My senior year of high school, my mother would routinely, and still does, get involved in multi-level marketing companies. As part of this multi-level marketing company, like a good multi-level marketer does, they recruit their family, friends, and so on to come into the business, right? And so she recruited me, and I started selling water filtration systems. As part of this company selling water filtration systems, there was an annual event, kind of a rah-rah event, if you will, where they highlight the best businesses of the year and so on. And so we gathered up enough money to be able to go. This was down in Boca Raton, Florida. And we went. The keynote speaker that year was Tony Robbins. And I think most of all the audience knows Tony Robbins. If not, he is I call him a master strategist at how to be successful, not just in business, but in maybe in life in general. So on. Okay, so one of the things that he said at this event, like 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 rings so true for me. It stuck so clear for me. It's been a guiding principle from the moment that I heard it forward up through this day. And what he said is something like this: if you want to be wealthy, and I don't know if it's exactly around wealth, but I think it was. He said, if you want to be wealthy, what you need to do is find someone who already is wealthy. Do something similar to what they did, and then you will get a similar result. But that sounds stupidly simple, and I'm kind of stupidly simple. So let's try that out. So because I wanted to work in sports, and again, I wasn't a good enough athlete, I thought, well, I can help the athletes train, but I got to find someone. So I was going to Indiana University, and so I called up the head strength and conditioning coach at Indiana, and I said, hey, look, could I ever come and interview you? He said, yeah. So I came in with a list of questions. My idea was, I'm going to model this guy. I want his job. So I came in, I told him, his name is Frank. I said, Frank, I want your job. What did you do to get this job? And what would you recommend I do so that I can get this job someday? And he went on to tell me exactly what he did: the education, the books, the certifications, and so on. And I did exactly what he said. And after I plowed through that list as fast as I could, because I was excited for this journey, really excited. And so I plowed through it. I came back to him and said, look, I've done everything you asked me to do. Is there anything else I can do right now? And he's like, look, I can't hire you. There's not a position available. But if you want, you can sit right over here on this plyometric boxing, the box people jump on and off of and stuff to learn how to jump better and so on. And all he had to say was barely get the word out of his mouth. I'm like, yes. I just went and sat on the box. Every time I was not at class, I was sitting on the box, watching what they're doing, getting the athletes bigger, faster, stronger. And that led to my first job in college as a student strength and conditioning coach, which led to my first job as a strength and conditioning coach at Indiana, working with a bunch of teams minus football and baseball.
So this is interesting. So I want to kind of, man, there's so many things in there. You talked about like this modeling idea, right?
Yeah.
Like you took the words literally. And sometimes I think, as adults, we overcomplicate things, right? We don't think
No doubt.
it's that stupid simple, but truly sometimes it is that stupid simple, right? To just
Almost
model.
was.
What was the reason that modeling seemed to work for you? And we'll get into kind of how you made the trek into the NBA, but I want to kind of understand, like, how is it that at a young age you saw modeling as a way to change your environment, to create new circles? Because I would imagine that for a while you were modeling what you did at home, and everybody was on the farm and those things. What gave you the idea to go, I can get past the farm, I can get past where we are, and there's something over there? Was it because you were in school and around different environments? What made that a real reality that you wanted to go grab? So what if you could find a community of corporate professionals who also have side businesses, and we're all just trying to learn from each other and learn how to grow? Well, that's why I'm here. You should join the Grow Your Side Business Challenge. That's right. I want you right now. Go to it right now. growyoursidebusiness.com. And guess what? You can opt into a 5-day challenge. 1 hour per day, you and I are going to get together with a ton of other community people who, guess what? We're all trying to grow our side businesses and we want to know how to do it the right way the first time. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you some things that you didn't even know that you should be doing to leverage your corporate day job while also at the same time learning how to build that side business. And you're going to find out that actually, if you do your side business the right way, it will impact the way you show up at work. And I'm going to show you some things that you didn't even know was possible. So for 5 days, for 1 hour a day, you and I get together. Now, I got 2 ways you can experience that. You could jump in to the general admission. Well, guess what? You just get access to the live training right then and there each and every day for 1 hour a day. Or you could jump into the VIP experience. VIP people get a chance to actually talk with me, actually ask questions every single day if you would like to before the actual training. So guess what? You want to jump into the VIP experience because that is where you'll be able to get your questions answered and including the actual training live. So go to growyoursidebusiness.com, jump into the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, I love the question. The idea really is this: like 2 things. One, I hated the farm. So I grew up on a farm. I never ever liked any part of living on the farm. So one of like the idea of like the carrot or the stick. Like I had the stick behind me. Like if you don't succeed in school, it's either you're going to go build houses for a living, or you're going to, like, I had an uncle who built houses and my other part of my family who were farmers. And I saw how hard the work was. I didn't enjoy the work. I didn't enjoy really even the community. So I don't know what it is, but from a younger age, I always had an affinity toward like a city. I partly I'm very extroverted. I love being around people. And on the farm, it's more isolated. And anyway, so that was part. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't want any part of it. And so I was highly motivated. Like, I'm getting through school no matter what. And so that was part. The other part, I was very excited. I love sports. I love music and I love sports. So and the other part of that is I've always had a very scientific mind. So like I'm very logical based thinker. So like, kind of if you do this and then you do that, it's going to equal that. And so when Tony said modeling, I guess probably it resonated with my science-based mind that like, it felt like math to me. If I do this plus this, then it will equal that. And I thought then like, or it's going to equal something close to it. And, kind of in Tony's words, I thought, so that's, I think what really resonated with me is this idea that it felt like science. It felt like, it didn't feel like I had to have faith to be able to, if I do this and that, maybe I'll get that. It felt like if I do this and this, I will 100% get that. And that felt really exciting. Anytime I can control my outcome, that excites me. It's part of that science part. Yeah.
Interesting. So you get to Indiana University. You get this opportunity to kind of learn. As you were learning about these athletes, right? You're seeing it from the standpoint of like, so at some point I'm guessing you kind of accepted, I'm just never going to be that guy or that girl, right? Like you just kind of accepted it, right? But I like what you said. You said, if I can't be them, I can help that person.
Yeah.
So as you were learning in this role of performance training, what were some of the things that you even saw at Indiana University? Maybe some common threads that you started to kind of pick up on as you're watching, as you mentioned, you were watching these athletes and it was about getting them stronger, better, faster. What were some of the things that you saw even then in college that still today ring true as far as principles are concerned?
Yeah. It really comes down to this kind of like scientific thinking where, the idea of getting an athlete bigger, faster, stronger, there were specific, so a couple of different steps. One is we want to assess an athlete. Like, where is this athlete? How strong are they? How fast are they? How, depending on the sport, how much can they endure? How high can they jump? We wanted to get really clear right where they were at. The next step is we needed to identify what they needed to be in order to be the athlete that actually gets playing time. And, we wanted the athlete to be clear on this idea too. Like, okay, here's where you are. In order for you to get playing time, you need to, get to this, this kind of quickness or this kind of speed, where you need to be able to jump this high. And again, depending on the athlete and depending on which sport, but the big idea is to get really clear on right where they are, and then we identify where they needed to get to. And then what was, then became my job and the other strength coach's job to write the programming, the path. Like, how are you going to get there? Here is the plan. Here's the things you need to eat. Here's how you're going to train. Here's when you're going to train, what you're going to do, and so on. Here's what it actually takes to go from right where you are to right where you want to go, so that you can, be the starter on the field, or be the, whatever role it is. Not every athlete has the ability to be a starter necessarily, but they have a very important role nonetheless.
So what if you could find a community of corporate professionals who also have side businesses, and we're all just trying to learn from each other and learn how to grow? Well, that's why I'm here. You should join the Grow Your Side Business Challenge. That's right. I want you right now. Go to it right now. GrowYourSideBusiness.com. And guess what? You can opt into a 5-day challenge. 1 hour per day, you and I are going to get together with a ton of other community people who, guess what? We're all trying to grow our side businesses, and we want to know how to do it the right way the first time. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you some things that you didn't even know that you should be doing to leverage your corporate day job, while also at the same time learning how to build that side business. And you're going to find out that actually, if you do your side business the right way, it will impact the way you show up at work. And I'm going to show you some things that you didn't even know was possible. So for 5 days, for 1 hour a day, you and I get together. Now, I got 2 ways you can experience that. You could jump in to the general admission. Well, guess what? You just get access to the live training right then and there, each and every day for 1 hour a day. Or you could jump into the VIP experience. My VIP people get a chance to actually talk with me, actually ask questions every single day if you would like to, before the actual training. So guess what? You want to jump into the VIP experience, because that is where you'll be able to get your questions answered, and including the actual training live. So go to GrowYourSideBusiness.com, jump into the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you there.
And so that is a guiding principle that today, when I'm coaching businesses, it's the exact same. Those principles of getting really clear in business is getting clear. There's some foundational pieces, numbers in a business, specifically working with an entrepreneur. Like, in a business, 80% of business is psychological, in terms of if they believe they can actually do the thing. If they believe it, that's 80%.
Right.
20% then are the strategies and the tactics, and those are learnable. And those are, they're, so once I, whether it was with an athlete, once I plant the seeds, like, hey, and how I do that with an athlete, like, you remind me of so-and-so who's a starter right now. You remind me of them. They were at this place at this particular time in their career too. And look where they are now. So I'm planting a seed so they can know, they can believe, because they see someone else did the exact same thing. And if I know if I can get them to believe, then they have buy-in. Because once someone believes, then they can take those next steps. Then they actually truly get excited. Like, don't have to motivate somebody. If they believe and they're hungry to get there, then I don't have to be like, come on, let's go. Like, it's not like a yelling match to like try to drive them. They're driven. And ideally, if I get this right with an athlete and or now with business clients, the person that I'm coaching will ask me for more, because the motivation comes from being clear where you are, clear where you want to go, and hungry, because you want to. Usually, once someone is clear where they are and clear where they want to go, they just want to zip on the path to get there. They don't want to, they don't want to fast forward a year or 3 years or 5 years or a decade and be in that same place. Right. That would equal like something really terrible. Where, the idea again, if I'm working with someone and I say, here's where you are, here's where you need to get to, here's exactly how you do this, then they're excited, right? Then they just like, give me more, tell me more, which is my favorite part of coaching. So the setup, though, is important. The setup of making sure people can see that path, and they can see that someone else has done it before. which is, oh, I mean, unless you're like the Elon Musk of the world, where you're truly carving a brand new path, which is almost for none of us. For almost all of us, whatever we're going to be up to in our life, someone else's have already blazed the trail. They've shown us, here's exactly what you do. So then that's where this idea of modeling comes in. Here's where I am, here's where I want to go, and someone else has already shown us how to do it. So in my coaching, I just study the paths of the people that have come before, so then I can take those paths and implement and get people clear, so they're not
So
trying to do.
I like this because, and I want to go back to your story for a second, but I like this because, and I want to talk about like motivation and some of these other things, but I like this because I do think sometimes we have this falsehood or this narrative about I'm carving my own path. It's like, no, that path was already carved. Like you're not, somebody's already done it. You just need to go figure out who's done it and do it that way. So I want to put a pause on that. I want to go back to your story. You mentioned something really interesting. So let's go back to, how did you go from I'm working with college athletes, and where did the opportunity with the NBA happen? Like how did you go from that? And when was this? Like, was this early 90s? Was this early 2000s? Like, give us kind of that
Late
timeline of going
90s.
from Indiana University to the opportunity, the chance moment, and then now I'm in the NBA, and kind of tell us what team you worked with.
Yeah. So the way that worked, it was a chance moment. One of the athletes from Indiana, and I'll leave his name out, but it would be easy to figure out. But one of the athletes from Indiana got drafted to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he and I had a relationship, a good, kind of coach to player kind of relationship. And he said, would you ever consider coming up to Minnesota and working as my private trainer? And I said yes. It was one of those, come back to one of your original ideas in this conversation where you said, saying yes. I said yes. It seemed like I wasn't all the way ready. I was partially ready. I loved basketball. Actually, I was considering going to work out in San Francisco with baseball, but there was an additional requirement that I didn't have met yet, which was I had to speak fluent Spanish to work in baseball. But the San Francisco Giants had a baseball opening for a strength and conditioning coach. And at the time, actually, I moved to Minnesota. There was not an opening for a strength conditioning coach. There was an opportunity to be a private trainer for one of the players. So I said yes. I moved up, and the opportunity came available. I actually went and did a similar thing here in Minnesota. I went and interviewed the head strength and conditioning coach in Minnesota, and that led to an opportunity to become strength coach with the Timberwolves, which led to a next level opportunity. I don't know if you want me to get into that quite yet or not.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So
Yeah.
you've done this work on the university level.
Yeah.
Give our audience an understanding of, first of all, when you're talking about the NBA, you're literally talking about 400 of the top of the world. Like there's nothing else, right?
Not another level.
Yeah, there's no other realm. So what was the difference in the athlete that you saw, right, working with a Minnesota Timberwolves athlete, and then seeing the other athletes who kind of come in? Like what was the difference between university and a pro?
Well, at the major difference is at the pro level, it it is full encompassing in terms of what a real pro does, whether it's a pro athlete or a pro in business, whatever. They are like all day, every day is spent, not all day, every day. A lot of the day is spent engaged in skill development, body training. So it's like, how do I eat better? How do I eat for performance? How do I train for performance? How do I train to prevent injury? How do I eat so I have incredible injury? On average, you're playing, 4 or 5 nights a week. And so a typical day, in a college setting for a basketball player is, they're up early in the morning for a training session, then there are classes through the day, and then there's training in the night. But, at the college level, there is requirements. You can only have an athlete for so many hours a day per NCAA rules. Okay, at the NBA level, these athletes come in. There's just a lot more studying of the game, and depending on the athlete at the pro level, most pro athletes are specialists in a couple of skills. One of the things that like jumped out to me, um, and this is a really big lesson going forward in business too, which is this idea that on most athletes, outside of say like your superstars, like a LeBron, or you can pick any superstar name that people know, but most of the NBA players are really good at like literally one thing, maybe two or three things. And the way that a superstar becomes a superstar is they pick one aspect of the game, and then they master it, perfect it, and then they jump to a new aspect, master it, perfect it, and keep going. But most of the athletes at that level are only really good enough to become a master, let's say like at rebounding. They know exactly where to position themselves when the ball goes up from anywhere on the court. They know with great certainty where that ball is going to end up if it doesn't go in, and they know exactly how to position themselves. If you think back to like I'd say a Dennis Rodman, something like this, high specialty, and he studied film after film after film after film after film on the one aspect. And in basketball, most athletes do have to specialize in this couple of things. Or if you're a big man underneath, they specialize. They only have one or two moves that they're going to over and over. They feel a guy on the left shoulder, they do this move. If you feel a guy on the right shoulder, they do this other move. And they're just really good at it. They get to a specific spot, and that spot puts them in a good position of success. They know if they're at a certain spot on the floor, they can make their move to the left or the right to score. And if they're too far under the basket or too far away, there's a great chance they will not be able to score the basket. So they're just trying to get to a position and execute one of two moves. That's it, and they do it over and over and over and over. In business, how this relates is, if in business, in a business that's a six-figure business trying to get the seven-figure business, there's only like three things that have to happen to get there. And most businesses struggle because they're trying to do about 40 things, all of which do not matter except for the three that actually do. And so they're trying to be a generalist across all of these business ideas instead of being a specialist, narrowing down to one. And that is the major difference between an amateur and a pro, both in the sense of athletics, but also in the sense of business.
Absolutely. So, you talked about, the NBA player really only having like one or two moves, right? And then they start eventually learning how to build on top of that after they've mastered something. Give me an understanding, like, let us in, like, tell us what type. Let's just use a scenario. Let's say a NBA player is trying to work on, a particular aspect of their game. Maybe it's not necessarily shooting, but maybe it's, they don't pivot well, or maybe they don't, cut angles fast or something like that. What is a performance coach doing to help that person? Like you kind of talked about, right? Like we're going to teach them how to eat for performance, right? I'm going to teach you how to, do certain. Give us an idea of like an example of what that looks like for the pro athlete who, let's just say maybe he's needing to learn how to eat for performance. What kind of things would you be recommending and helping that player do on a consistent basis? So what if you could find a community of corporate professionals who also have side businesses, and we're all just trying to learn from each other and learn how to grow? Well, that's why I'm here. You should join the Grow Your Side Business Challenge. That's right. I want you right now. Go to it right now. GrowYourSideBusiness.com. And guess what? You can opt into a 5-day challenge. 1 hour per day, you and I are going to get together with a ton of other community people who, guess what? We're all trying to grow our side businesses, and we want to know how to do it the right way the first time. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you some things that you didn't even know that you should be doing to leverage your corporate day job while also at the same time learning how to build that side business. And you're going to find out that actually, if you do your side business the right way, it will impact the way you show up at work. And I'm going to show you some things that you didn't even know was possible. So for 5 days, for 1 hour a day, you and I get together. Now, I got 2 ways you can experience that. You could jump in to the general admission. Well, guess what? You just get access to the live training right then and there each and every day for 1 hour a day. Or you could jump into the VIP experience. My VIP people get a chance to actually talk with me, actually ask questions every single day if you would like to before the actual training. So guess what? You want to jump into the VIP experience because that is where you'll be able to get your questions answered and including the actual training live. So go to growyoursidebusiness.com, jump into the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. So if I go with the eating example, the idea is first, I mean, it comes back to those three principles. First step is getting clear on what the athlete is currently eating, what and when. Once I have an idea of that, and then also, an idea of what, in terms of body composition, are they, maybe they need to put on muscle, maybe they need to lose some body fat, whatever it is. So we're doing some assessment to get clear on where they are. The next step is this idea of modeling. We're trying to figure out what so we're clear on where they are, and then you get clear on where they need to go. So do they need to add muscle? Because there's a different set of, pretty much you need more protein. And if you need to get more lean, then we might just be looking at total calorie output. We might be looking at timing of when they're eating, something like this. And then from there, in terms of foods, what we're doing, if you think about like a bathtub, I like this example. If you think of like a bathtub, and everything that we're doing, everything the athlete's eating that's good, it would be something that's filling up the bathtub. But let's imagine the bathtub has holes in the bottom of it. And the holes in the bottom of it are everything or anything the athlete is doing that is taking away. So maybe they're eating some really high quality foods and they're eating the right amounts, but then they're also eating some low performance foods, like, let's call it ice cream, something like this. Okay, they're eating ice cream. And we know that ice cream is going to slow them down, potentially is going to be a way for them to gain weight fast and whatever. So they're doing, call it 8 good things, but they might be doing 7 bad things. And then it feels like a lot of work. If you're the athlete doing, 8 good things and you're doing 7 bad things, it feels like, well, I'm doing all these good things, but they may not even realize they're doing all these bad things, which negate pretty much all the good things they're doing. And so it's like a leaky bathtub. So all the good things are the bathtub being filled up, and then all the bad things they're doing are like what's letting the bathtub empty out. And so they're not really getting anywhere. So we'll take a 2-pronged approach. We'll take an approach where we figure out what's the worst thing that you're doing, and what would be say if it's 7 bad things you're doing, what's the one thing that would be the easiest for you to get rid of right now? And we're just going to plug that hole. And then on the other side, what's something else that we can add into what you're currently doing? It could be like a protein shake following a strength training session, for example. It's easy, doesn't really cost any time. You carry a shaker bottle, you shake it up, and you drink a protein shake, and you're on your way. So it's very easy, but it's a filler of the bathtub. So now we've gained 1 more, and we've plugged the hole. So now we're 2 ahead. And once we establish that, then we go again. Some people, athletes or not, are what I call fast changers, meaning I can give them 10 things to add and 10 things to stop, and they can handle it all, and they just want to go fast. Other people are more slow changer types, and this means I can only really give them 1 thing to add and 1 thing to take away, and we got to establish that as a habit. Once it's established as a habit, then we can add the next thing that's going to help them. And we'll use that same approach for other facets of the game.
This is interesting. So let's talk about then, because you mentioned something earlier, and I want to go back to this. I said I want to get back to this.
Yeah.
You talked about the psychology. So here's my question. When you've dealt with athletes and you've dealt with performance people in business, is it motivation? Like, does motivation even work? And then secondly, when you think about the work that you have to do, how much of this is the psychology versus what we've got to write down on paper to do, right? Like, because I would imagine there's some sort of like balance between the makeup up here, right? And the do 1, 2, 3 down here, right? Like, what is that? Like, one, is it really motivation that we can, does it really work? And two, what's that balance between the actual task being done and the psychology of actually making something happen?
Let me ask you a question. What's something that you love to do?
Oh, wow.
Whether it's
Something
in
I
your
love to
personal
do.
life or business life. What's something that you just love to do?
Man, I love talking about corporate professionals building side businesses.
Perfect. How much motivation would I have to give you to do that?
None.
None, right? Why? Because you want to do it. And so here's the idea. Most people, if they feel like they need someone to motivate them, it's because one of two things really. It's because they're doing something they think they, quote unquote, should do because they've read it in a book somewhere, they saw it in a video somewhere, they listened to it on a podcast somewhere, and they feel like they should, but they don't want to.
Mm.
And so, if someone is willing to spend some time on themselves exploring what they really want to do, like you have motivation all day. If someone really knows what they want to do, and then they go through these same steps we've been talking about getting clear about where they are in their journey and where they want to go, motivation just turns up. It comes from within because it's actually what you want to do. Like in our society, it's very, very easy to get into the compare game, whether
Hmm.
it's in the compare for the way somebody looks or how much money somebody has, or any other thing. It's today with all the social medias and all the opportunities we have to see what other people have in their life, we can feel like we want that, but then you have to stop for a second and ask the question, do you or do I? Is that what I really want? Or is it just cool? It seems cool that they have that. Like if someone has $1 billion, it might feel really cool. Like, gosh, that would be so cool to have $1 billion. But if you dig into and use the idea again, this modeling idea, and figure out, okay, what did this person that earned $1 billion, what did they actually do? Maybe they're up at 4 a.m. Maybe they work 14, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. Is that what you want to sign up for? Is that you? It might be. It might not be. But, I've had the privilege of working with two billionaires and and many other ultra wealthy people, and I've been able to see the inside of what it takes to be a high level athlete and a high level business person. And what I've come to this, what I've come to a reality of is, in one of the steps in my coaching program that I like to do is help people to realize who they are. There's nothing more important in our lives than discovering who we are individually and respecting that, celebrating others that are different than us and that have different skill sets and different ideas for how they want to live their life, what's important to them, what their morals and values are. And the hope is that we can each find ourselves, and inside of that, you'll find the guiding light, so that so that if I find my guiding light, I can live my best life. Like, and the idea, like, I can go model people, but truly, when I'm modeling somebody, I'm modeling one aspect of their life. Like, if I like Michael Jordan's one of my all-time favorite humans, and I can model parts of Michael Jordan, but I don't want to model everything that Michael Jordan is. And same with, you can pick your, whoever your people are. I have an imaginary, board of directors, so to speak, that are not people that I actually know, but people that I aspire to be more like. Um, but I don't want to be more like them in every aspect of their life. I'm trying to pull out what is already me, but I'm trying to model behaviors in other people that help me be more authentically me. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. This is interesting. So let's get into this pivot in your life, because I think it's just one of the most fantastic moments that I want our audiences to really dive into. So you're at work one day with the Minnesota Timberwolves and a conversation ensues. Walk our audience through kind of that moment, and because I just find this moment it's just so fascinating. There's so much that we could cover. We won't be able to do it all on this show. We'll probably have to do a part 2 at some point. But talk to us about like that day. What was going on that day? What was happening? Tell us kind of who you met. And again, this goes back to this theme of saying yes. Like just let's kind of talk about this moment. And I'm real curious, like, did you think to say no? Like in the moment? Like, did you, like, because of course you didn't know what was on the other side, but give our audience kind of what was happening, what was going on, who you met, and then what the ask was. And when you understood what the ask was, kind of like, what kind of hit you then?
You got it. Okay, so here's really what happened. So my whole life I've wanted to make money. I've like, okay, so I wanted to make a lot of money, and I thought I was making a lot of money when I became a strength coach with the Timberwolves. But the reality is I was working 80, 90-hour weeks. I was not even making six-figure income, just under it, $85,000, $90,000 a year. But I was working like 80, 90-hour weeks. And I thought, for one, I thought I made it to my dream job. I was making what felt like a lot of money to me. But one day, a guy contacted me. Like it's sitting down there on the bottom of all basketball arenas is a lot of generally wealthy business people, businessmen in particular. And one day, a guy contacted me and said, "Hey, I noticed you're a strength coach with the Timberwolves. Would you ever consider being my private trainer?" I said yes. We worked out a deal. Then what happened is one day, coming into the workout, short time after I knew this guy, 3 or 4 weeks after I'd known him, he comes into the workout all upset. I was like, what's going on? Why are you so upset? What's happening? And he goes on to tell me that he has to pay a six-figure tax bill. So I thought to myself, holy crap. Okay, I know you're legitimately upset, but please tell me, how in the world did you make so much money that you have to pay a six-figure tax bill?
Yeah,
And
that's probably the question I would be asking too. Like, wait a second, hold on, time out. I know this is about you, but can it be about me for a second? Like
just for a second, indulge me.
six-figure tax bill. Jeez.
Yeah. And okay. I don't like growing up. I thought only people that make a lot of money were kind of rock stars or pro athletes. I thought that's how you're going to get rich and make it big. I had no idea the kind of money that can be made in the business world. So here I was, I'm asking the guy the question. He tells me he started his career as a radio DJ, but noticed people driving the nice cars to the studio were not the DJs. They were the sales department and the marketing department. So he pivoted his career and went sales and marketing, ultimately became high up in Clear Channel Media, earned a seven-figure bonus, had to pay a six-figure tax bill. My mind was blown. Okay. One, it was a big light bulb moment. Wow. In business, you can make seven-figure bonuses. You can make seven-figure checks. That was a light bulb moment. I didn't know that was possible. So that was me believing another level of money making that was not on my radar. The other thing that happened was this idea, this pivot from I can be really good at what I do. Like I'm assuming was a really good radio DJ. I don't really know, but I assume he's a really, really good DJ. I knew was really good at getting athletes bigger, faster, stronger, and so on. But also I knew I was tapped out. There was nowhere to go. Nowhere for me to go, nowhere for me to progress in my career, make more money and so on, which is part of what I really wanted. And so 2 light bulbs went off. One is that you can make a lot of money in business. 2, I need to know how to do sales and marketing for what I do, not just be skilled at what I do. So I pivoted, started going to sales and marketing conferences. At this point, that wealthy business person started introducing me to other wealthy business people for me to be their private trainer. At the time I could charge a couple $100 an hour, and I thought that felt good. Plus, I was getting to know wealthy business people. I was getting in proximity to people who were really good at what they did in terms of business. And so one weekend after I came back from one of these conferences, I shared with one of my clients what I had learned at the conference. And he looked at me and said, "Hey, would you ever come and share what you just told me with our marketing department?" I said, yes. Going back to your yeses. I said, yes, I would love to. I'm a teacher at heart. Probably my most foundational piece. I'm a teacher. Okay, so I said yes. I went in, delivered an hour presentation. At the end of the presentation, he handed me a check for $5,000. another light bulb moment. Holy crap. Okay. I'm teaching. I totally fell in love with business at this point. The ideas of business, sales, marketing, and everything around it. And I thought, holy crap, this pays way better than what I'm doing. I also love the training and so on, but this I have totally fallen in love with, and it pays way better. So it was another pivot. So once I did this for the one client, I shared that I had done this with his business, and naturally, some of the other clients said, hey, if you did it in their business, would you ever come and work with my sales department or marketing team and share some of that same information that you're learning when you're traveling away? And again, I said yes. And that led to me, the beginning question is, what do I do today? Entrepreneur success coach for service-based entrepreneurs. But this, I accidentally got into it because I guess said yes, paid attention to what was working, fell in love with the idea of sales and marketing and business, and started down a career and grew my own businesses to multiple seven figures. And then coming full circle here, back in 2017, I wanted to bring my wife to a Tony Robbins event. She knew of Tony Robbins. She's heard a lot of his trainings, but had never been
Yeah.
to an event. It had been a few years since I had been to an event. And I said, let's go. So we went to UPW, Unleash the Power Within, Tony
All
Robbins
right.
event. And during that event, I had another, I don't know if you call it awakening or an epiphany or however you want to say it, a light bulb moment. And in this moment, what happened is like I had this epiphany that like, hey, my story is I grew up with nothing, no money, no cars, no beds, no home phones, no electricity at times, and so on. And I've been able to get into a really nice position in my life financially. And I figured out through a lot of mistakes and a lot of going to lots of conferences and just learning and implementing, and then coaching and seeing firsthand how high level businesses run their businesses. So I had these two different insights. One, I'm seeing how a couple billionaires and then several other high net worth individuals are living their lives specifically, and then how they're performing inside their businesses. And then I have my own experience of coming from nothing, getting to a something, and growing businesses from nothing, using cash to grow businesses to multi-million dollar businesses. So in 2017, I had the epiphany that I really wanted to start coaching businesses that are at or around the six-figure business mark, that they have got things going, but they're stuck. The more you kind of dive in sometimes to a thing, you realize how much more you don't know. And then usually you're making things way more complex than you need to be. And like I've alluded to earlier, there's only like three things that one needs to do to grow the business from a six-figure to a seven-figure business. Then after that, things get a little more complex because you have to grow teams and get systems and so on. But going from six-figure to seven-figure is easy in terms of what to do. And so I wanted to take my skill sets, what I've learned about money, what I've learned about how to grow businesses, and bring that to these businesses that are trying to come up. And so that's where I'm at today. Today, I still retain about half of my clients are the ultra wealthy, and then the other half are these up and coming, what I like to call soon to be wealthy or ultra wealthy businesses.
So what if you could find a community of corporate professionals who also have side businesses, and we're all just trying to learn from each other and learn how to grow? Well, that's why I'm here. You should join the Grow Your Side Business Challenge. That's right. I want you right now. Go to it right now. GrowYourSideBusiness.com. And guess what? You can opt into a 5-day challenge. 1 hour per day, you and I are going to get together with a ton of other community people who, guess what? We're all trying to grow our side businesses, and we want to know how to do it the right way the first time. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you some things that you didn't even know that you should be doing to leverage your corporate day job while also at the same time learning how to build that side business. And you're going to find out that actually, if you do your side business the right way, it will impact the way you show up at work. And I'm going to show you some things that you didn't even know was possible. So for 5 days, for 1 hour a day, you and I get together. Now, I got 2 ways you can experience that. You could jump in to the general admission. Well, guess what? You just get access to the live training right then and there each and every day for 1 hour a day. Or you could jump into the VIP experience. VIP people get a chance to actually talk with me, actually ask questions every single day if you would like to before the actual training. So guess what? You want to jump into the VIP experience because that is where you'll be able to get your questions answered and including the actual training live. So go to growyoursidebusiness.com, jump into the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you there. Yeah, man, this is wow. It's just fascinating because, um, I was thinking about our interview and the opportunity to be able to sit with you, and I'm just going, this guy literally has like, and I know we talked about it before the interview, like if there's anybody who's got a true example of the power of yes, it's like Jay's got it. Like your story is just interesting. One thing I'm curious about when you mentioned like how you grew up. You mentioned the stick kind of forcing you to move to something different, and you kind of you've been able to build a life that that maybe the 17-year-old you probably never even thought was possible, right?
Couldn't begin to imagine it.
I'm
True, I'm not kidding.
curious.
Like, there's no possible way I would have imagined this.
Yeah, but it's the power of yes. It's the ability to keep saying yes and getting further out of your comfort zone. Talk to me about the times when you're working with the ultra wealthy. Do they have moments where you see you're pushing them past their comfort zone? Do they have moments where they realize, uh-oh, I'm having an internal conflict with what Jay is asking me to do, and trusting that he's gonna guide me into this unknown space. Do you notice those moments even with the ultra wealthy?
100%.
Wow.
So this is one of the things I've come to learn is a couple of things I want to point out about ultra wealthy versus those who are not there yet, that are striving to get there. It has a lot to do with personal development. So, one thing I realized, if I go backwards in my career, when I first met the ultra wealthy crowd, and like to think like how I grew up, and then one of my clients, had a private net worth of $6.5 billion. Like, it seems silly that a small town farm boy who grew up being evicted multiple times would ever have any ability or knowledge to be able to coach someone with that net worth. It just would have seemed completely silly and like illogical. But what I've come to realize is the reason they hired me initially is to help with their personal development, essentially, to helping them be more fit, helping them to eat better, helping them, a lot of the things I would do with an athlete on the personal side. Like, I mean, a lot of getting to high level success is creating a life, putting yourself in a position so that you feel like doing the things that you would need to do so you can have what you want to have. And so much of the time when I'm working with, I'll just say like newer entrepreneurs, their personal development, their personal life is really a mess compared to the ultra wealthy. And what I mean by that is the ultra wealthy that I work with, they go to bed the same times, every day of the year, minus a couple of days a year. They wake up the same times every single day. They eat largely the same foods, and those are good. They need foods that are going to give them energy, make them feel good, and be convenient, and so on. Not that they're eating out, or not even that they would have private chefs or any other thing that someone might imagine. It's usually just very, very simple kind of ideas. Like, for example, like a green drink into the diet is very simple. You take some water, you put some powder in there, you swill it, you drink it. And I pretty much require this of every entrepreneur that I work with, because it's stupidly simple. It nourishes the body. It gives you a great chance for something that doesn't cost anything, either financially or time wise, to bring you forward in a day so you can feel good. Now, if you're trying to get through the day, you're trying to make yourself do stuff, but you actually don't feel like it. You feel like going back and laying onto a couch because you don't have any energy. Energy's in the tank. Like, you have very little chance to bring yourself forward, even if you say you want to. I always believe people when they say they want to get something, but then if I watch what they actually do, they're not being the person that can actually do those things. They're not. So a lot of bringing someone forward on a journey is, again, assessing someone on the personal side, simultaneously assessing the business side. And usually what prevents people from progressing on the business side is oftentimes not lack of knowledge, because knowledge is cheaper today than ever. We can Google search almost anything and find out about anything you need to know for free. But to be able to execute it is a different story. And what I've been able to identify is a subset of criteria on the personal side and a subset of things to identify on a business side to keep things really simple, so that we can get clear just on these things that actually are going to matter on the personal side, get clear on these things that are actually going to matter on the business side, and then put blinders on to all the other noise. Because most of the information we see online or from gurus or whatever is just pure noise. It's just a lot, telling us all to do a whole bunch of things that actually are not necessary. They're really just very much a distraction to getting to the outcome that's actually desired.
You said something that I want to get to. I don't want to miss this, and I don't want our audience to miss this. So you talked about you even assess the personal side of the person who wants to work with Jay Altman while even looking at the business side. So here's my question.
100%.
Have you ever looked at a potential client, and had to turn them down because they weren't willing to work on the personal development, or there was just too much chaos in order to be able to pull off what they were asking?
Absolutely. I mean, especially with the ultra wealthy, on the ultra wealthy side, usually the personal development is already quite high, and that's what I've come to realize. Like when I stepped into their lives, I wasn't necessarily realizing how high it was, because I'm pushing to like kind of perfecting diet and perfecting movement, and getting people into a position where they can really thrive. And what I realized when I pivoted, going and starting working with entrepreneurs that are we'll call again back to the new entrepreneurs, like around 6-figure and up, their personal lives are generally a mess. And if they think that, I've had a couple of clients that they just thought like, Jay, just give me a tactic. Tell me exactly what, this ad to run on Facebook or whatever. And like, you're all the way already set up to fail, because you will have no ability to follow through and do the things I'm going to ask you to do, because you don't have the setup. You don't have the pre-frame. You're not going to feel like it. So I can tell you all day the things to do. You can go find it out for free, even not from me, but you're not going to have capacity to do it, because you're not going to feel like it. And unless you feel like it, I know that you're not going to do it. And so they're not willing to put in the time to get clear on where they are, and getting clear on where they want to go, and then getting a very clear plan to get there. And if they're unwilling to take a look at those other things, they're 100% will not be the right fit for me. And I already know 100% they will fail. Right? There's no question. It's a foregone conclusion. So they're going to stay frustrated. They're going to stay stuck. And they're going to bounce from one tactic to another, to another, to another. They're going to pivot from one business to another, to another, to another. And in 5 years, they will be no farther ahead than they were when I met them.
Wow. So, man, this is fascinating. So talk to that person listening right now. What advice would you give right now, like to that budding, entrepreneur? They're making, north of 200, maybe in close to 5 or 6, but they're feeling like they're stuck, right? They're like, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Like, what advice would you give that person when it comes to, I love this, because I agree. I do sometimes think part of the issue, any business problem, is a personal principle problem. That's just my thoughts, right? Like, there's something personal that I need to deal with that would allow that thing in my business to grow, right? I just believe that. So I agree with you. But talk to that person who's listening right now, who might feel like they're struggling in business. And you're saying, well, it's probably something, you might got some chaos going on. What advice would you give that person who they know and most of the time they know there's a chaos. They're trying to ignore the chaos and hoping that maybe the more money will solve the problem, when we both know that's not true. But help the person who really does want to change. Talk to that person. What advice would you give them right now so that they can begin the work to really ensure they have a solid grip on life in order to build a great business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, so to start, it's these same principles we've been talking about. One is getting clear on where you are. So if we start on the personal side, there's I think it's Socrates that said, to know thyself is the beginning of all true wisdom, or something along those lines. That's a paraphrase, but it really is. So you have to do some assessment. So I think most people listening will have done like a Myers-Briggs, or there's a whole bunch of personality kind of tests, and there's some specific to being an entrepreneur. But so there's tests like this. There's also like simple things like body fat. If your body fat's way out of alignment, then it's very difficult to have enough energy to do things and so on. And so the idea, if you are stuck where you're at, likely you're feeling overwhelmed. You are feeling like there are way too many things that you need to do to bring yourself forward, and there's not enough time in the day to do them all. And what you need is to be able to model. You got to two things. One is you have to find a business or businesses, one or a couple businesses to model that have already done exactly what it is you want to do. And for, again, 99.9% of us, those businesses do exist. So you would want to model them. And the way that I like to teach people to model them is go buy every single thing that your competitor, that someone who's doing something similar that you want to do, buy everything they have to offer, buy everything, and take notes. How did you learn about what they are doing? Was it a Google search? How did you find them? What did you find? What did they offer you first, second, third, and so on? And write it all out. Get a blank sheet of paper. I keep like an art notebook, and I just diagram out everything that I possibly can study about a business that I want to model. And in that modeling, you'll find lots and lots of clues. And then I would recommend to hire someone who's already done it, a coach of some sort, either on the personal side. You got to figure out on the personal side how to reduce all the pressure, the overwhelm that you're feeling. So, for example, if you mentioned the entrepreneur making like $200,000, so you're making some money, you have some money. So you got to use the money to help support yourself. So, for example, if you hate cooking, but you want to eat healthy food, you either got to find the local restaurants that can DoorDash to you, or you got to find a personal chef, and it's much cheaper than most people think. For about 11 to 15 bucks an hour, you can find a sous chef that works in a 5-star restaurant in your area that will come and stock your refrigerator and freezer with healthy to eat meals that all you would need to do is pull them out, heat, and eat them, so you're nutritionally supported. You got to figure out what else is there. Can you hire a house cleaner so you don't have to scrub your own toilets or something like this? You got to figure out where can you can ask the question, who can do all these things that you are currently doing for some low dollar amount. Like if your time is worth $100 an hour, but you can hire someone for $15 an hour to come do something, or $20 an hour to do something for you, and you can use the same time to get further ahead by doing a $100 an hour task. That's one place to get clues. You got to reduce that pressure and noise all around you, so that it frees up your capacity, your mental capacity, so you can focus on the tasks that are important to move your business forward. If your mental capacity is if you're taxed by having to think about like exercise, what do I need to do for strength work? What do I need to do for cardio? What do I need to do for whatever? Hire a trainer, either an online trainer or a trainer in your area, to set up a program for you. Or if you can, work with someone who's going to work with you ongoing to keep you accountable to the exercise, whatever, just so that it feels like you don't have to think about it anymore. And this person can think about it for you. You got to show up and just execute. And the same for those other things that we talked about. It could be the same for it could be mowing your lawn or whatever else. You got to figure out all these tasks that are eating up your time and your mental capacity because you're thinking about it. And you got to get someone else who can do it for you. The question is not how to do it, but who can do it for you, and then implement those in at whatever level you can. If it's once a month, once a week, daily, whatever, if you figure out where, what your budget can afford, and that's a whole nother discussion. But if you figure out how to afford these people that can help service you on the personal side, then it brings you forward. Like me working with the ultra wealthy, I was the person that they said, who can help me be really healthy? Who can teach
Yeah.
me these things? And I furthered my career. I became a functional medicine practitioner. I became a licensed physical therapist. I mean, if someone came to me in those early days working with ultra wealthy, it was my idea was I'm going to help them do anything that they need to do to
Hmm.
be healthier, more fit, and more successful. Whether it was I learned how to cook, I've learned how to, all I was my early idea was to be everything to the person,
Yeah.
which came from an early marketing idea from Zig Ziglar, who said, once you have a client, it's easier to deliver more products to an existing customer than it is to go out and find a new customer. So that my early idea was to go and deliver everything. I wanted to be everything to service this person.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
Okay.
man, that is so powerful because I do believe every person has the ability to create whatever type of business they are. Because I would also imagine, Jay, like not every person wants to be a billionaire, but everybody do wants their business to be at least thriving, right? So not everybody's going, oh yeah, I want to be a billion. Like, what was it, or this week, or early this week, or last week, LeBron James crosses $1 billion, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure the little kid from Akron, Ohio was not thinking, oh, I'm gonna be a billionaire. No, he just knew I needed to get out of here, found out he had a gift, kept working on his gift, and let his gift create other opportunities, where he started growing, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm thinking about being a billionaire, but some people just want to be able to improve their lives. I love that you have this angle about seeing the person, because I do think we have an issue, especially in this country, where we spend a lot of time about the results driven nature of something, and we see a lot of people crash and burn after they get there, right?
Yes.
We see a lot of
Yeah, and
crash and burn.
a lot of crash and burn, especially if if they're not personally developed, there will be a crash and burn. Like anybody, people get lucky in business now and then where they are not personally developed, but they hit on a tactic. Like I'll give
Mm-hmm.
you an example. My wife's business is a brick and mortar fitness studio, and when she started that business, fitness boot camps were just becoming the hot thing. And at the time, she worked corporate. She worked for Oracle and she was doing inside sales, but she had a passion for fitness. She had been a certified personal trainer for like 4 years and literally did nothing with it. She's doing sales. But then what happened was one day I brought her to a conference, and someone at the conference said, "Well, the reason I have my own business is so my kids never need to see the inside of a daycare." And she burst into tears, and she knew she needed to do something. So at that point, we put a date on the calendar for 1 year out for her to, no matter what, on that date there was going to be no more Oracle, and so we had to figure this other thing out for her to transition from corporate life into doing her own thing. Well, so we chose fitness boot camps because it was the hottest trend in the fitness market. We also was one other trend happening at the same time in the marketing world, which are these deal of the day sites like Groupon and Living Social were really hot at the moment. So we landed a deal of the day, and on day number one in this business, we landed 777 new clients day one because we had the
What?
hottest trend and because deal of the day was hot. And so, she was at Oracle.
770 clients day one.
We were starting 50 new members per class. We had to hire 8 new trainers in a matter of like to be able to like get this thing going and starting 25 to 50 new clients every single class to try to get 777 processed. Because of course, when you buy a deal, you want to start today, right? You see the deal, you buy the
Right.
deal, you want to they don't want to wait 6 weeks to start the deal. They're going to want a
Right.
refund. So we scrambled on my side. We built out websites so that the website could handle, we had to give Groupon the instruction. You got to send them to this website. So we built out this 4-step process. Come here, select your location. We immediately jumped from no locations to 5 locations in our city to be able to
Sheesh.
provide enough business. And then so we had people select the location, starting time, and we had to make videos so that we could use technology to automate, because there was no possible way we're going to be able to respond to that many emails or that
Right.
many phone calls to be able to start. No, the only way we could do it is you have to register online, go to this place, and then it was videos. Hey, great to see you. Thanks so much for getting the deal. Go here and select the location that's best fit for you. See you on the next page. Next page, right? Like select your day and time. Next page, download this. Here's what to bring. Blah blah blah. See you there. And it was all handled automatic. But the purpose of me telling you this is, it was a hot market and a hot tactic, but the reality was the business wasn't ready to handle that many clients at a time. So while we gained 777, we probably lost 500 of those because the business and my wife at the point, and as a business person, wasn't developed enough to be able to handle all of that new business. And so you see this meteoric rise, and then not a complete crash, but a definitely crash off that top. But and then saying this, like, if you get lucky and you're in a hot market, like you're selling toilet paper at the beginning of COVID, you don't need sales skills. You just need toilet paper. You have toilet paper, you're going to sell out. And then it's just going to be a matter of, can you access more, because you have a market that wants it like crazy, right? But if a person that's selling it is not evolved, the business will blow up and then it'll disappear, and then they'll be broke, completely broke again, because they don't have they're not developed enough. They themselves are the hindrance for the business to go forward. A different way I can say this: you will not find a business that has a long track record of success without the person running it being highly personally developed. They cannot coexist. You will not find someone in a like a CEO of any great company who that person is not highly developed and has lots of great skills. That's not, certain amount of fitness, doesn't have certain
Mm-hmm.
disciplines, doesn't read, doesn't, okay, yeah, it's just not going to
Man,
happen.
so as we wrap up, man, like I'm I'm grateful that you are in the marketplace today to be able to share these stories and to give people just this understanding of, like, sometimes, I've often talked with people about, like, just say yes sometimes. Like, you don't know, like yes, you don't know, but that's a good thing, because that means if I don't know, it's probably a good place for me to learn. Right. So just go say yes. So lastly here, tell people where they can find you, and talk a little bit about kind of just your personal mission. Like what are you after? You've done all of this stuff. You work with some great people. You've learned a lot of different situations. You've had your ups and downs and figure eights and all of those things. Kind of
Yeah.
talk also about, what is your personal mission?
My personal mission or my business mission is, it's actually very simple. It's to help an entrepreneur understand what those things are, both on the kind of personal side and their business side, that's going to bring them forward so their business can go from that 6 to a 7, 8, 9 figure type business. At the same time, increase their personal finances so they can be financially free. Because I've realized for my own self that, without getting your personal finance right along with your business right, you're not going to get your happiness right. And so that is my mission. It's my, like my personal and my business are blended, because I am living and doing exactly what I want to do. I have, it's into my heart, to help the entrepreneurs take that journey so that they can do it, and so that it can actually feel, entrepreneurship's not always easy, but it's much easier than what a lot of people are, the path a lot of people are navigating, because it can feel terribly complex if you don't have someone who's already done it, or if you don't have something you're modeling so you can see, I do this and then I do this and then I do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of
All
times
right,
it
tell
just
people how
feels
they can
very
find you on
complex.
social media.
Yeah, so where people can find me is that just very simple: on Instagram at Jay Altman, on Facebook at Real Jay Altman, or my website at jayaltman.com, JAYALTMAN.com.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, are there any last quotes or anything that you'd like to leave our audience with as we wrap up this episode?
What I want to say is, believe in yourself. And if you're having trouble, believing in yourself, go out there and just look at the people that are already doing the thing you want to do. I guarantee they're no smarter than you. They don't have any more gifts than you. They don't have any more talent than you. In fact, probably less. So one easiest ways to gain belief is go out there and look, because you'll find, I guarantee, someone you think like, they're not very smart, but you're watching them make like a ton of money. You're like, what in the world? How, like, if they can do that, you can do that. Let's leave it like that.
Absolutely, man. Interesting. Well, listen, Jay, this has been a pleasure. There's so many other things we could have jumped into, but time is short. I want to say thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for saying yes all those years ago and continuing to say yes. And man, thank you for stopping by the Grow Your Side Business podcast and helping our audience be able to get a glimpse of having the power of yes and to continue to be able to stay forward. So for those of you who've got an opportunity to hear this interview, here's what I want you to do now. Go and do something with what you heard. I'm sure there's moments in your life, if you think about what you just heard, where you're like, I should have said yes. But guess what? You're not dead, so life's not over. I want you, the next time something comes across your ears, I want you to just say yes. Don't worry about trying to figure out the how. How will happen as you take massive action. All right? So go out there, go be great. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace. So what if you could find a community of corporate professionals who also have side businesses, and we're all just trying to learn from each other and learn how to grow? Well, that's why I'm here. You should join the Grow Your Side Business Challenge. That's right. I want you right now. Go to it right now. GrowYourSideBusiness.com. And guess what? You can opt into a 5-day challenge. 1 hour per day, you and I are going to get together with a ton of other community people who, guess what? We're all trying to grow our side businesses, and we want to know how to do it the right way the first time. Well, guess what? I'm going to teach you some things that you didn't even know that you should be doing to leverage your corporate day job while also at the same time learning how to build that side business. And you're going to find out that actually, if you do your side business the right way, it will impact the way you show up at work. And I'm gonna show you some things that you didn't even know was possible. So for 5 days, for 1 hour a day, you and I get together. Now I got 2 ways you can experience that. You could jump in to the general admission. Well, guess what? You just get access to the live training right then and there each and every day for 1 hour a day. Or you could jump into the VIP experience. My VIP people get a chance to actually talk with me, actually ask questions every single day if you would like to before the actual training. So guess what? You want to jump into the VIP experience because that is where you'll be able to get your questions answered and including the actual training live. So go to growyoursidebusiness.com, jump into the challenge, and I look forward to seeing you there.